السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته والصلاة والسلام على سيدنا محمد وعلى سائر الأنبياء والرسل. Greetings and thank you all for taking time of your very valuable schedule to join us this afternoon for what I think is going to be not only an exciting discussion, but it's going to be an amazing one that's going to leave you thinking a lot for later. And we are joined this afternoon. I'm sorry? Could you gentlemen mute your mics, please? The speakers. Thank you. All of you, please. So there's not an echo back here. All right. So basically what we're going to be addressing today is a very sensitive subject in a time zone that things flashed ahead of time in light years with the COVID-19. What happened? Talents of Endearment Career Labs, we aim through this discussion and previous discussions as well as the future discussions is to explore and embed a new mindset for students worldwide to transform and build a future of their dreams. We all have that dream that started years ago, perhaps when we were young, perhaps when we started growing, whether in poor areas, disadvantaged communities, how this is going to flow. And what we're going to be talking about is the theme is to go through that journey. When I dream of glory, what does that mean? But to set the stage, I want to share this little video first. And then we get started with this nice conversation.
So far, we've seen 25 new billion-dollar startups on pace with last year.
Says it could attract a price tag of $9 billion.
Fundraise that we just announced this week, our $18 million series.
Data from PitchBook, this is shaping up to be the biggest year for unicorn IPO. So you are seeing some exit.
To private stock market site equity at $7.2 billion. Has already handled over $6 billion in trading volumes.
Now, the reason why I showed this video is the headlines talking about the billions is being spent, raised funds to fund rice star companies all over the world. And the dream of a Chinese man that wants to really take his chance on the world, and the discovery of nature. Where are the opportunities that could exist for that Chinese man? And into the advancements, and where China today, where is the opportunities for this Chinese man to start his journey to glory, for the change? And Elon Musk said in one of the conversations that I've listened to, a person trying to build a company and having it succeed is like eating glass and then turn it to the rest of us. If you think how painful that statement is, it reflects actually in the journey and the suffering a startup or entrepreneur endure when they start the company. The journey of startups and entrepreneurs to funding had always been a bumpy ride, challenges, difficulties, competition, fears from all over the world. But here is a unique thing. Here is the unique or the changing corner for everybody. COVID-19 turned 2020 to a different time zone that nobody was ever prepared for. Angel investors, venture capitalists, banks, opportunists, people who went to colleges, schools, worked very hard to start up their own companies today, or they have been working on it for the last couple of years, hit the block. The reason that block moved us from what I call brick to click. Now we have observed a huge transformation in that era, focusing on bigger opportunities in 2020. Think e-learning, think TV and online entertainment, think social media, think online shopping, think online workspace. And the change has been transforming almost in every sector in our economic landscape. And it is moving fast beyond our expectation, our hopes for what was once our comfort zone to come back. It is not. It's going to change, and that's going to change it tremendously for startups funding, the mindset, and how that's going to flow. To go through this conversation, we are lucky today to be joined by the master of all things that I like to call him, Mr. Osman Sultan, who has been the instrumental and the mastermind behind two major companies in the region. And we also, not as an entrepreneur, also in big startups, but also as an angel investor that has had a focus on startups' interest. But also we are also joined by Mr. Mohammed Al Qariyuti, veteran expert bankers who worked very hard in his early career, and at a young age, he actually mastered large funds and managed large funds that ranged between $3 billion and $5 billion over in his short career time. And we also have a rising star, and his name is actually a rising star, Stars Play, Mr. Maaz Sheikh. He's also had an abundance of successful stories to share with us this afternoon. And what I would like to go through is be all you can be, driven by your passion. And I like to start with the word passion, the statements of passion. And Mr. Osman, now, when as an angel investors, you went through the experience of two great startups. You started two major startups that became game changers in the region. In Egypt was Mobinil and Orange, and in Dubai was Isdu. And you have ridden the road for a number of venture capital boards and hoping to change things. You went through the experience of funding. However, I don't think that you went through the same painful experience of funding Mobinil and Do, because I think funds were available to those operations. On a large scales, you probably had it much easier. Or on a macro scale, you had it much easier at that time than the small-time startup guy building those companies to success. Funding most likely was not as much of an issue to do or Mobinil as it is an issue for those little guys. Was it going through that macro experience the reason behind wanting to help the micro scale guy and do what they can do, and when you do what you can do to help them to make their dreams come true? And I will gladly transfer the mic to you. And before I do, I would like to welcome two distinguished guests with us this afternoon. Dr. Asim Al-Haj, president of Al-Khwarizmi College, who I would like to seek his request to give us his feedback. And also Dr. Adli Qandah, a very old friend, but he used to be the CEO of Jordan Association of Banks. Both are masterminds in the fields that they have, and would like to listen to their feedbacks as we go. Mr. Osman, the mic is yours. I transferred it.
Dr. Abed, thank you very much. And thank you for asking these questions. Let me start maybe with an important disclaimer. As much as I am fascinated by the entire universe of entrepreneurship, which is the subject of our discussion today, I don't think that I deserve to be called an entrepreneur. Yes, I started from scratch 2 stories, and I was very lucky and privileged that these became really huge success stories. Billions of dollars in value, billions of dollars in return to shareholders. Most importantly, schools in the learning curve of very talented young men and young women. And I always say, beyond these financial results, the most proud part of that story, I keep repeating this, Dr. Abed, you heard me saying this, is that 22 people who worked for me became CEOs in geographies all over the world, from Canada to North Korea to Vanuatu in Australia, of course, to the entire North Africa, Arab world, Saudi Arabia, the UAE, Iraq, Syria, Yemen, etc., etc. And that is as well very rewarding, but most importantly, they became stories to trigger profound transformations in the society that we live. When you start something in communication, I don't think that I need a lot of words to convince that we were at the start of a journey where it was transforming everything we touch. But I'm not an entrepreneur in the sense that I did not decide to pursue an idea. I was entrusted of something in an executive position. I was the founding CEO of these 2, one in Egypt, the other in the UAE. Prior to this, in the internet space, something in the US, a small as well startup in the US. But again, these were part of large groups. I was rewarded handsomely as a CEO, specifically as the CEO of companies that were giving this much reward and return to shareholders, getting a salary, getting a bonus. And I had, of course, to ensure that the way we position, yes, I can say I was fortunate to have the right strategy, the right vision. I was stubborn on this vision, on the execution, etc., etc. When I look to one of your guests today, Dr. Abed, and I had the privilege of knowing Maz since years, because I knew Maz when this entire thing was starting. one of the investors in Star Z presented me to him, and I saw the very early time of this story. This is entrepreneurship. This is a guy who had an idea, who pursued his idea, who went through, and I don't want to take off the light of all what he will tell us, but there is a big difference. There is a different merit. This is entrepreneurship. This is the spirit of entrepreneurship. I haven't done that. I was 36 years, I was an executive. For 24 of these, I was a CEO. This was part of very large groups, international groups. So I was not kind of betting all my career. Yes, I was, you always, at post of responsibility, you always, if you don't succeed, you know that there is a price for that. You pay the price. But it's a different story. That's what I want to say. And I'm sure Maz will put some lights on what is it to be an entrepreneurship. Now, I'm still fascinated by this, and I want to give you a few headlines of what I believe is why I'm fascinated. You know, let me look at, I call it a day in the life of my two teenager boys. Among the things that they touch and they work, where they will call, how are you going to this place? He's calling an Uber. What are you now doing? I'm watching something on Netflix, Star Z. I downloaded this music. No, I can get it on Deezer, Spotify, and Rami. I just ordered through Deliveroo, Talabat, and I don't really want to forget, but it's easy to forget. This is the interesting thing, is that what our kids are doing, what we are doing, I'm WhatsApping it, I'm going there, I downloaded the app, are entities, are things, quote unquote, that didn't exist in our lives 15 years ago. When I started the adventure in Egypt 22 years ago, there wasn't. The internet was just starting. So this entire story has unfolded, and this entire story had the potential of disrupting everything we do in our life. Now, there are some underlying headlines that are very important. And I lived this in my executive life. When I started this, you know, it was the logic of telecom. We did not need in telecom to do things or open conversations with the banks, with the film industry, with the music industry, with IT companies, with publishing houses, etc., etc., etc. We had our certainties. We didn't need to share. The universe of unshared certainties. And in few years, we have to sit with studios. We have to sit with the likes of Star Z, OSN, Netflix. We have to sit with the music. We have to sit with all the IT companies. We have to sit with all these people. We sit around the table and we cannot say this is the business model, because guess what? We are sharing forced. Telecom, they didn't like to share. You have to understand that telecom existed for decades, for almost a century, with power of state. They were the regulator, they were the operator, and customers didn't have any choice. They were state-owned monopolies that were dictating the entire value chain. And at the end of the value chain, this poor subscriber was there forced to take, and very happy that he could, you know, just pick up a phone and say hello, and somebody will answer on a fixed, before even mobile existed. So the move from unshared certainty to shared uncertainty transform the entire mindset. And that is entrepreneurship mindset, being able to adjust to how the world is moving. I am sure the post-COVID era, Dr. Abed touched about some of this headline, is transforming. And who better than the people who are at the heart of the things? I mean, we've all spent time in our home watching films, etc. So leave it to our guest star and my dear friend to tell you a lot about this and how this changed radically. So that's the first headline. The important thing is that the second headline that we are seeing, and we are seeing it post-COVID, it was in a discussion I had with Dr. Abed and Maz before saying this, we were saying, joking, we have the speakers, we have the content, we have, and somebody added, yes, we need to start making money around that. And that is at the heart of the theme of today, which is you have a great idea, you have execution, but I learned it, and sometimes learned it the hard way as an angel investor. How is the monetization working? How is the monetization model working? And this is something, let me give you a small example to illustrate this to you. In the telecom, we used to charge by subscriber, and but by two parameters. We charge access by subscriber times distance, times and distance. Just to illustrate what I mean by that, you call from Jumeirah to Deira, it's a price. You call from Jumeirah to Abu Dhabi, it's a different price. You call from Jumeirah to London, it's a different price. You spend a minute, you pay a price. You spend 2 minutes, you multiply by 2, you spend. This is the only thing that telecom knew. So when these internet players came to our world and started, before they started offering what telecom offered, which is voice calls, video calls, etc., which was messaging, there is not one service offered by telecom that is not offered through a totally different business model by the internet players, what we call the over-the-top players. So when they started, we didn't realize. And you know what? In the very beginning, early 2000, we were saying, but these guys, their EBITDA is negative. How are they going to make money? You know, if the paradox of internet, it's on the internet, it's free. But these guys started by offering, they got the scalability. Keep it in mind, scalability, how to scale. A different, I already used monetization, scalability. They knew how to scale, and they started the journey to monetize little by little. You know, on a debate that is very trendy these days, telecom, we were clear at least in telling you, Mr. Ahmed, Mr. John, Dr. Abed, I'm charging you this. Oh, you find it very expensive, but I'm clear in what I'm charging you. The telecom players started, the internet players, it's free, come, and little by little, they started telling you, but now they are forced to tell you more and more. You know what, Dr. Abed, you know what, my dear friend Maz, you know what, Mr. Ahmed, or Mr. I am charging you this, but which is, you think nothing, but in parallel, I'm using your data because I need to monetize, I need to make money. And it started by all these, you start when using anything, Google, etc., and you have to agree. And you have 3-4 pages. I'm challenging anyone listening to us today to tell me I read it completely, I sent it to my lawyers, I was fine with it. None. We didn't care. Now, if you see more and more, I do a Google search. Before some searches, you see Google telling you, if you don't, I agree. I say, no, I want to see more. And then you have the choice to see, you want to, on search, on ads, on YouTube, your YouTube searches, that will help them do whatever. So they're forced to give you a choice. So monetization, the second is the scalability. They scale. And number three is, of course, the funding. You need to have the right narrative. I sit on, as I said, as an angel investor, I have a lot of young, very talented, brilliant people that come and talk to me. By the way, I'm the chairman of four, in addition of four startups where I'm very, very proud. One of them, actually, Dr. Abed, they make me the immense privilege of being the chairman of Talent of Endearment, and I am an angel investor of this Talent of Endearment. It's an e-learning. It's a beautiful story. Why not? Now we are building the monetization model, the scalability model, the narrative to get funding, etc., etc. I'm sure that Maz, of course, but Maz has few years around that, will tell you about scalability, monetization, and funding. So this is what I look. But then, and I will end on that, a point that has always been at the heart, and will never end without closing with it. You can have the best ID, you can have the best execution, you can have the best technology, you name it. At the end, it boils down to people. When I look at a project to invest in, when I sit on boards of investors, companies, VC, etc., I always insist, let's look at the management team. Let's look at the management. Let's look at the young men and women who are going to carry this, because in their mindset, it's a mindset, in their capability of planning, of scaling, of adapting the model, this is the recipe to make or break. People, people, people. And I will always say, I say to them, you know, you will face obstacles. You will need to change certain things. Be stubborn on the vision, because this is the vision that we bought in. This is the vision that you convinced. This is the narrative. But be flexible on the execution. The world is changing so fast, and we have seen, we have had an event that is unique in the history of humanity. The world changed totally everything we do, and there is no return to the normal we knew, because people learned how to do things differently. There is a new normal that we will have to reinvent. Great opportunities. Let's think this way. And if there are few words of wisdom in what I said, these are few headlines that I'm giving you, not as answers. These are few headlines I'm giving you. I call them for the new conversations, for the new questions that needs to happen. Because guess what? We don't live in a world where there is the right answer that is very clear. This shared uncertainty word that I mentioned in the beginning is having as a consequence, we live in a world where we need more and more the culture of the right question rather than the culture of the right answer. So what better thing to be in something related to learning, this new ways of learning, to illustrate this type of new culture in learning. That's all what I said. I thank you very much. And now I need to hand back to, or ask Dr. Abed to take back.
Thank you, Mr. Osman. And I hope we can catch you with the next question before you part away from us at
Yes,
6
I
o'clock.
wanted to say apologies. I have to leave at 6 o'clock. I have
Hopefully
a
we
hard
will run.
start.
Hopefully we'll run fast enough to catch up. But coming back to the question here, this is for Mr. Maaz. Maaz, what was the great moment of your life that made you say to yourself, I've got to make it, I've got to do it, I can do it, I am going to do it? What was the groundbreaking point that got you to jump to start? And how did you know it is the time to do your thing? I will transfer the mics to you in just 1 second. Mic is you. Okay.
Can you hear me, Dr. Abid?
Loud and clear, and we can see you. Go ahead.
Thank you so much. First, thank you, Mr. Osman, for the kind words and the background you gave. You're very generous with your feedback, so thank you very much. Coming back to the question, Dr. Abid, unfortunately, we all look for something, a special moment or a special event that triggers or that one memorable moment you have that brilliant idea. And lots of entrepreneurs have that. I didn't. There's no one specific moment where I had a brilliant idea. It's not like I woke up one day, had this great idea. My journey was not like that. Mine was perhaps more over time. I reached a point in my career where I realized that I really enjoy startups. I really enjoy building companies. And I had been fortunate enough to have worked at OSN, and before that at Showtime, which became OSN. So I'd worked long enough at a big company in a large organization with big teams. But I felt also over time that I want to do something different. And sometimes these things are about, sometimes they're about pride, sometimes they're about ego, and having a little bit of ego and a balanced ego, pride, although they're negative words, sometimes can be good things. And that was my case, where it was partly driven by pride, partly driven by wanting to do something different. And I started this is my third startup, and I did my first two startups in my 20s and early 30s, not as a founder, not as a CEO, but I was part of the teams working for other founders that built startups, and I really enjoyed that experience. And then 16 years went by where I wasn't in a position to do a startup. And I felt at age 45 that this was my time. It was now or never. And so the older you get, you have more responsibilities. Kids are older, schools are more expensive, expenses are higher. And so it becomes difficult. But I felt that was my time to do it. And so it was really a combination of lots of little things that finally convinced me that it's time to make the jump. And to answer the second part of the question, I think everyone's journey is slightly different and your experiences will be different. But for me personally, the most difficult thing was to walk away from a stable salary and a stable job, a stable salary, and a big company. Not for my own personal sake, but for the livelihood that I was providing for my family. Walking away from that was perhaps the biggest risk I was taking, because I felt I was potentially jeopardizing the future of my family and the security that I'm providing for my family. That was perhaps the biggest and most difficult decision for me. Is in a way I felt that I was playing with my family and my kids' future. That was perhaps the most difficult decision to make. And then, yeah, so that's how I got started.
Thank you, Maaz. That's why it took me a while to remarry again, waiting until I was able to get started.
Yeah, no, it's everyone's journey is slightly different.
Absolutely, but it all connects, and actually we all complement each other's. And the toughest part of my questions is to the third rising star in this panel, Mr. Qariuti. As a career expert, you have been involved in several major funds, top $3 billion to $5 billion. You're my hero and Ma's hero. And throughout the whole time, what was it that kept you moving to achieve success? Was it your hunger for money? Or was it that you're aiming high in the sky? Or was it a combination of those for something more humanitarian? And in other words, are you the unique banker that has a passion in his heart to people? With that, I give you the question, the mic to yourself, Mohammed.
Thank you.
Okay.
Hey, excellent. Thank you. Thank you, everybody. Good day, and hope this session will be fruitful for everybody. Actually, yeah, you ended with the start. It's about passion. Now it's all about people. I like the words that Mr. Othman mentioned. It that wherever you look to any kind of opportunities, it's a start with people. Do you have that passion to start with, and how you can translate your passion? I believe in thoughts. In a saying that thoughts become things. What does it mean? Now, human beings' minds, if you start to think in something, you can translate it to fact. And to translate this to fact, it's need from you a base. The base, it started with you. It's all about you. Do you have the passion? Do you have the capability? Do you have the macro to look to things? And I like the slide that and the video. It's talk about think big and look big, but how you think and how you look. Now it's all about how much you can expand with what you have. If it's a vision, you expand with the vision. If it's ideas, okay, where are you gonna stand these ideas? This is how you start to think and look big. And after that, if you have a success story or a story to be a journey of success, then you can talk about that. I'm gonna take it big. Now, related to the banking, when I start my career life in banking, I start with passion. And I insist that I'm gonna be in the banking field in the front office. What is the front office? Is the business. You look to the business. Now, to succeed, first of all, you need to know what is the market, what kind of market you have. First. Second, you need to segment the market. You cannot go mass. In the opportunity of banking and lending and raising fund and whatsoever, when it's related to funding, it's all about concentration. Where I'm gonna put this effort, segment the market, focus in what kind of segment. Now the segment is major two umbrellas. One is the geographical segments. The second is the sector segments. Now it's different. If you go to the geographical side, you cannot place the sector side on that place. You need to understand exactly what kind of geographical opportunity and challenges, and also to look to the sectors where you place the sectors. Now, when you describe this, you start building the passion of creating the model. You need to create a model. This model, you start to selling the model first of all. And the most challenges, and Mr. Othman know exactly because he 22 CEOs graduate under his umbrella and from. Now, every challenges comes from the challenges in-house. Now, most of your challenge in your journey, it's started in-house, inside your institutions, before you go to the market. Now, if you succeed to create a model first, to segment the market second, to know where you go, then it becomes how much you can expand. Do you have the capability? Do you have the power? Do you have the support? You create the support. And I always believe that opportunities come from challenges. If you face challenges, don't make it problems. Look to the problems at its opportunity. You're going to challenge this opportunity. And this will take you time by time, step by step. People, they will know. When I start to creating a model in the banking system, I reached to a point that every complicated transaction need to go to Muhammad Qaryuti. They need to go to Muhammad Qaryuti because he looked to things from a macro first. Is it worth to fly with this transaction, with this project, let's say, with this opportunity? First of all, and the most important, in addition to that, you need to know the market well. Supply and demand. Where are you going to place this? For whom? The sustainability of any project and any lending transaction need to be in place. By the way, all what I said is not related to the risk and compliance and audit on whatever. This comes after the fact. Now you have the fact, you have the opportunity, you take yourself to the market. Now when you segment the market, you're gonna find where is the opportunity that you're gonna invest on, and this will be can fit for the entrepreneurs, the startups, the big project, the SMEs, or whatsoever. As long as you have the segmentation, then you can control what kind of arms that you're gonna provide to support that business, subject to take in consideration the situation, and also the most important things, you place yourself where. This is the important. If I want to grow, what is the space that I'm gonna grow on? And because this is you're gonna build your projection depending on. If I start to building my projection depending on, okay, I'm coming from small countries, I'm gonna be after 2 years in States. It won't fly in this way. Maybe some success stories can, but at the end you need to build a base. The base starts with people, passion, process, macro vision, be big in thinking, and after that you start exercise all these to be a strength, and you're moving on. And even if you face challenges, move on. You need to know where is the step to say, I'm gonna exercise the stop loss today. Stop loss, that's it. Move on. Next. This is the challenges that you're gonna face. And after that, you create once you name it and you create that model, people will come to you. People will say that we have this. We need you to look to that matter. Can we fly with it? Can we exercise this on fact? Can we grow with this opportunity? Is it is it needs for the market? And this is important. Today, I was involved. I'm very happy with all the colleagues and Mr. Othman. I'm translating my experience in the funding of the telecommunication and the operators, and I learned a lot of that. And I know a lot of techniques and I learned a lot of techniques from the telecommunication, because it's very sensitive business, and it take you to the sky or hit you in the ground. These need to be built on a supply and demand. This opportunity need to be built on a position of where you are, what you can do, how much you can expand, and always look to tomorrow. Always look to the future. Always say, what's next? I'm always saying this in every minute in my life, and every time, in all my day-to-day time. Always when I go in discussion or I say something or I hear something, okay, that's it. What's next? Today we have a pandemic. Okay, what's next? Today we have a vaccine, lockdown. Okay, what's next? What we gonna do? Not to die in what we have. Thank you.
Thank you. And I like your closing. Don't get caught up with the current status, because that will pass. What will not pass is the opportunity to catch the next train, right? And with that, we go to the next question. Mr. Osman, and what kind of ideas, particular ideas? I know you gave us a lump sum of general specs, but let's try to narrow it down. That would click with you to say, this is it. Had you find that moment of fame that you found what you are looking for yet, or you're still looking for it, that you're hoping to catch to it? And I will transfer the floor to you in 5 minutes or less to tell us your thoughts, because I know you have to rush after that. Mr. Osman, the mic is yours.
Thank you, Dr. Abed. And yes, first of all, let me apologize from all the audience. I have a board that I'm chairing on 6 p.m. Dubai time, and it was very difficult for me to change it due to the agendas of a lot of other people. So thank you for your kindness and accepting my apology. So in 3 minutes, the ideas today, now the standard answer would be around all these buzzwords we have around us. Today, you say to investors, I'm doing something in AI, artificial intelligence, everybody jump. You tell them, they will start to be interested, and they start discussing with you. You tell them, I'm doing AI and I'm going to do it on blockchain. They're starting writing the checks. You tell them AI, blockchain, it's analytics, on etc., etc. We have all these buzzwords, and there is a way of looking at this. Now, let me give you just examples. I mentioned 4 companies that I either invested in, or one is in e-learning. So what IDs, I don't know precisely, but I do believe that this space, Dr. Karyuti absolutely was right. You need to define what space you want to be in. I think that e-learning, it's not really rocket science, that we saw how the transformation of the life of our kids as students, etc. There is a lot for this to progress. It's still work in progress. So we are exploring this. We're exploring this, Dr. Abed, together. The second one is in putting on the digital map small, medium enterprises, because now every small company will have to rethink their digital journey. So if we can help, if we can bring solutions. The third one would be, and who would, but the space is very occupied. Maz can tell us, is of course the online entertainment, gaming, video, all this. It's a tremendous opportunity. I'm not in that space. Sorry, the third one, I'm not in that space. The two others I mentioned. The fourth one, where I'm chairing of a fund, is the healthcare. I believe that today you have around AI a plethora of startups that are in the application of AI and in the remote monitoring, remote diagnosis, remote consultation, things like this, with the entire digitization of the journey of a patient. And of course, being able as well to have this data following, and there is a lot to be done. So here again, I was tempted, and I am the chairman of a fund that has the ambition to consolidate a few clinics, small hospitals, and to transform the entire journey, and as well take the benefit of a consolidation process in terms of. So others are, I am as well, I'm having in some ideas, I'm exploring in the field of AI. I'm an investor in 2 companies in the AI field, and we'll see. We'll see. So, but again, if there is something I have to say, there is not a magic recipe. I mean, who would have thought? I always give this example. What Mark Zuckerberg did that became something that transformed, I mean, Facebook transformed, he just connected people. And I very often in conferences with my colleagues in telecom, I said, wasn't this connecting people the motto or the tagline of a company, you know, these 2 fingers coming and connecting people with the specific music? And we all thought, whether it's in phones, that this company will just become, years after we saw Apple coming and taking this over, then the Samsung of this world, then others, etc., etc. And this company actually, in terms of phone, we don't really see it anymore. For some of you who remember the Nokia, who remember the Nokia smartphone, the communicator, we all used to say, you know, if the world of phone, there will be Nokia and nothing else. And then things change. So it's as well the continuation of an idea, the adaptation of an idea, the culture of asking the right questions, not thinking that we have the right answers, etc. It's a mindset, it's people around that, and it's opening eyes, opening our minds, our eyes to see what's happening, our minds, and opening our hearts to embrace change. Because very often deep inside, there is always resistance. I can see it in companies. A digital transformation today in large corporations, the main obstacle is not technology. The main obstacle is the way people do things. So it requires from the top a different mindset. I hope that I answered as much as possible to the question.
Thank you, Mr. Osman. And
You're welcome.
The culture actually is a challenge. Okay. Maaz, I'm anxious. Mr. Osman spoke very highly of you and your energy to make things happen. I couldn't actually use my charm, my good looks, to convince investors to put that 10, 50, $100 million investment in my project. What was it that was really special that helped you, your idea click, and funding is approved? I'll transfer the mic for you.
Thank you, Dr. Thank you, Dr. Abid. It's interesting that just today, Google declared 2020 as the year the world asked why. So this was the most searched term, and that's why Google has declared 2020 as the year that the world asked why. And if you really think about it, the most human trait is wanting to know why, and that is really at the heart of most startups. And I think Mr. Muhammad highlighted this as well. Why is it that you are pursuing that idea? And for me, when we first got started, the way the company looks today and the product and the service that we have today is not what I had initially envisioned, not the idea that exactly the idea I started with. It evolved and changed slightly and kept getting improved until the investors were ready to put in the capital. So the point that I wanted to highlight for all the colleagues that are on this session is that when you're starting on this journey, as much as conviction of your idea and belief in your idea is extremely important, what's equally important is having that humility and flexibility to accept that your idea can be adjusted and fine-tuned and evolved. And this is exactly what happened with my journey. Is I started with a certain vision, started with a certain idea, but as I started speaking to investors, the idea changed, and it got better and evolved, and I adapted with it. The second part about what helped close the funding rounds, in our case, we didn't raise tens of millions immediately. I first started with my own savings to get the company incorporated. I started to build the proof of concept with a few developers. And with that proof of concept, I started to look for angel investors like Mr. Usman and others in the region that would back me. And I also started to look for family and friends investors. So initially started with my own savings, friends and family investment, some angel investors that came in. And with that type of investment, started to build out the real product beyond just the proof of concept. And once had the basic technology in place, that's when we started to go to institutional investors. And you want to do that because, one, you want to be, to any investor, you want to be able to show that you've put in your own skin in the game, you've put in your own capital in the product, that you walked away from a job or a stable salary, and now you're working without any salary and without any paycheck coming in. Those types of commitments are important, number one. And number two, you will also get a better valuation when an institutional investor comes in. You will also get better valuation for your company because hopefully you have developed a proof of concept. Maybe you even developed the first version of the product, and that's what we did. So our first round of investment, institutional investment, was $20 million, but it came in phases. Investors, institutional investors, are unlikely to write you one big check first time around. They will probably phase it based on commitments and based on milestones and delivery. And so our first round of investment, Series A, was again phased based on milestones. Once we achieved those milestones, the investments, the funds were being released. And then over time, we've done 3 rounds of funding, and we have raised 125 million US dollars in funding to build a business in 21 countries in MENA region, as well as launched operations in Pakistan and in India. And we have 1.8 million paying customers in the region. And I think at the heart of it, for a company like ours, for a product like ours, we didn't build from a technology and intellectual property point of view, we didn't build anything revolutionary. The reason we were able to raise the capital that we raised is for 2 reasons. One, the team that was behind this company. So we came together as a group of experienced industry people that saw an opportunity to launch a new business in the Middle East. So that depth of the employees, the management team that were raising the capital, that helped us a lot. Second is we were able to scale and monetize the business, as Mr. Osman was saying, very, very quickly. So we paid special attention to the fact that in order to scale this business, we need partnerships in the region. And we need partnerships with device manufacturers like Samsung, Apple. We need partnerships with telecom operators like Etisalat, Saudi Telecom, Vodafone in Egypt, and Orange. And so being able to scale the business is extremely important, because ultimately investors are investing in growth, and they want to see your business. In first 3 years, we were doubling our subscribers every 3 months. Every 3 months, our subscriber base would double, and you need that kind of growth rate to go after the market share and keep investors excited about your company, because it's no longer about the idea; it becomes about execution. So that's perhaps the combination of reasons why we were able to raise capital, is that execution and ability to scale. The final thing I'll say is, as entrepreneurs, founders, however you label yourself, it's very important to realize that not all of us are Steve Jobs, right? Steve Jobs, if you read all the books, makes it sound like, he single-handedly created the world's most, valuable company today. And he probably did. And there are going to be other Steve Jobs, Mark Zuckerberg is another example, Elon Musk is another example. But for myself and lots of us, we're not, I wasn't that capable, right? So it's very important to have colleagues, whether you call them co-founders, whether you call them the management team, whether you call them just colleagues. It's very important to have the right people working with you to execute and build that product. And that's been another key part of our ability to raise capital.
Thank you. You did an amazing job, because you actually brought into the scalability element early on.
Yeah.
To discover what actually filled the appetite of the investors to invest big with you. And that brings us to the interesting, exciting answer to get from Mr. Kariuti. And a lot of people have been asking questions in this platform. How do I get funding? How do I get investors? And Mr. Kariuti, how do you facilitate funding to make it easier for startup to obtain it? If I come to you today, or any of our attendees today comes to you and says, Help, please. We are good people. What is it that you can do to help them as a banker or as a fund raiser?
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for a question. Actually, we need to describe which kind of financing tools you need. Because again, now banks all over the world, in a way, maybe some countries in the world very advanced in that side, but actually for the entrepreneurs and startups, the beginning it will never be with the bank, because the banks have a lot of hectic procedures, and there is a lot of cost of investment, because the banks is big institutions, hectic payroll and procedures, cost overrun and whatsoever. One. Second, a lot of regulation that link with the banks. On the other side, because that the venture capital came, the seed funds came, and the other tools of funding came. Because the idea, you look to the investment from different angles. Now, the investor, like the venture capital or the investor who gonna invest in a seed fund, he look to always to opportunity, how to make money, rather than how to do the business to make money. There's a difference. Now, if I want to make money, I invest in an opportunity that make money. I support the opportunity and I be part of it. From the side of banking, this step is away from them. Banking come to in the next or third steps. So what's make any transaction or any opportunity attractive for the funder, let's say, from an angel, from venture capital, from investors? The attractive is to start with the transaction that linked with the opportunity of the business itself. What kind of idea I have? Can I sell it? Okay, sell it to me first. If I'm an investor and come to Maaz and I say, Maaz had, let's say, this opportunity, first question I will ask him, sell it to me. If you can sell it to me, then I can sell it to others. It's a start from here. Second, you need to do your homework. You need to build a base. The base always depending on the experience. Even if I have an idea, I'm an entrepreneur, I'm young, I need to have people with me. Like Maaz said, I need to have expert people with me. They need to protect me. They need to put control on me. They need to make sure that I'm not on that over expectation thinking position that I will go flying. It's not that way. Sometimes some transactions slide because the situation today after the pandemic, things are moving very fast with some opportunities, with some businesses. Maybe before the pandemic they were slow. This is an opportunity. It's like this. It's coming. What's next? Can I sustain? Maybe the pandemic will end it. Vaccine is coming now. Okay, things will come back to normal. What's happening during that journey? Consumer behavior is changed, totally changed. Now there is opportunity. So I need to look to what's when we say that we need to look to macro. So we need to structure our opportunity of growing in the business, how to look to things from macro, to look from all angles. Now, with these, I can go and convince even what kind of funders, even the banks and venture capitals, investors, who gonna invest with me, who gonna support me, who gonna fund me, who gonna lend me. I need to convince him that the money will gonna settle back first. Second, there is a sustainability. Third, there is a market. With all these, I can moving forward. Now, taking in consideration, if for any investor or any lender or any banks, he need to look to how I'm gonna get my money back. This will come with the financial model that you are building, what kind of a projection that you have, what is the if condition you put it in your business plan. You need to put it frankly. You need to dig deeply to make sure that you address the threat that your business is gonna face. This is from the things that you're gonna sit on table and start discussion with people, and you start convincing them. You put the covenants needed. Now, one from the things that important actually for this is advice actually I'd like to tell it to everybody he's thinking to have to building an opportunity of a startup business. Always look to the sustainability. Second, always build the covenants. Build the covenants within your financial platforms. The covenants will give the comfort to the lender that he will take you to the next step. Now, first step is gonna be the startups. Now, once you build that one, you go to the next step. Next step, you're gonna find more and more people that or institutions that are gonna be interested in funding you. Banks, opportunities for funding, venture capitals, or even investors. This come by the end of the second phase. When you succeed with the second phase, that the second phase will control your stability. Second, you know the market that you are targeting. Third, what kind of market? Fourth, what kind of market share that I need to get from this business? Where I'm standing and where I'm gonna putting myself in the competition, and this is important. A lot of opportunity fly with a good intention, but they face the competition, and they were in a position not to look to the threat as a threat. They thought that the threat is just only I can exceed. No, there is experience behind. So the experience important to go with you all the journey. When you go the third phase, now you're gonna find the banks. With the banks, you need to make sure that you put efforts in convincing the bank first. Second, always you have equity. When you touch the banks, you need to make sure that you have the minimal equity that will gonna fix and grow with your ratios, that you're gonna convince the lenders that I'm in good shape. This is the journey actually, and how you can make things moving on steps to reach to a financial position that you can find the proper and right funding from different angles that you find it in the market. Depends also, of course, on what kind of market you have. You need to describe your market. You need to describe your culture. You need to understand what's going around. You need to adopt these and build it in with your financial model and with your visibility study.
Thank you, Muhammad. Everybody runs into the market with an excitement. What everybody is hoping for is they're going to be doing what is exceptional. And it sounds good to them and it's going to fly. And I want to play this video that actually sets the tone for this next conversation that we are having. If you are under 18, don't watch this video.
We all got choice. Life about choice.
Something very real that has the power to change the world.
What does a banker from Brickell, a hacker from Hialeah, and a thug from Little Haiti have in common?
Nick gave you laundered drug money to start your company.
Your money turns into a digital currency, untaxed, unregulated, and untraceable.
You want to know what the only difference between a rich thug and a poor thug is?
You really think this thing you got is gonna make a difference for our family?
You got a rare gift, Izzy. Don't let anyone ever tell you otherwise.
This is Miami. Even the good get dirty. There's gonna be people gunning for us.
Have you hurt people?
Have I what?
This is my company, my baby, my code.
This is your mess, and I'm gonna clean it up for you. So you're welcome to be on your way. It never leaves you, even after you're square.
We're gonna change the world.
You got supply, and you have the demand. You have the problem, and you have the solution. You have the currency of the future.
You have the courtesy of the future. That says a lot in context of the journey and what's in between. A lot of pain, a lot of struggles, a lot of expectations, disappointments that we didn't prepare for. And that's why over 90% of startups actually disappears in the first year. And Mr. Kariuti, you are a banker. You are perceived as being the ugly, okay, and the beautiful, okay. Is this a true perception? And how can you change that perception to become acceptable and turn that image of a ruthless banker to be the one that is actually guiding people or startups to safety, to entrust their career, and it changes again? The floor is yours.
Yeah, thank you so much for this question. Actually, you know, I'm from the school. Maybe I was part of this school. Now, what I did during my life career, that I create a model that the banker is not the ugly face. He's not the one who look to things in always say what if. It's actually this is need to be changed. I can see this in a lot of banks all over the world, and I cannot say that these people are bankers. Banker need to look to first to the economy. If he's in the business side, first he need to look to the economy. He need to look what kind of improvement that he can share from his position to be part of this economy growth. On the other side, he need to make sure that not to lose any opportunity that putting on table. This is what I did during my lifetime. Because that I succeed. I never say no. I never say I'm not interested. I'm always look to things as an opportunity and how much I can participate to make it happen. I help a lot of people, and I'm still helping this in my advisory side to make things happen. To make things happen, you need to be realistic. Second, good negotiator. Third, your strength in how you convince the others, not only the banks, even the other stakeholders maybe with you. Now, always the challenges of the banks, because I say that when you start a project, the bank is not the right place you go first. It's gonna be the second, the last of second or the third. The first step is gonna be with another arms of financing to be strong enough to sit with the banks. When you once you become strong, then you can negotiate and you can convince. And this is one from the challenges. Actually, the banking system in the world is becoming changed now with the financial inclusion, with the with a virtual. Now we are hearing that today in the world is virtual banks is coming, and it started already. This will deal with without emotions. We're gonna deal with a solid business plan, with a solid feasibility study, with a strong negotiation to reach to a success transaction. Always there is challenges with the banks. If you think that the bank is gonna be the first saver for you, the bank will never be the first saver. Bank will come at a later stage. But on that stage, if you are strong enough, you're gonna get the bank under your arms and you can fly.
Historically, my experience with banks, you will never find them when you need them. They will find you when you don't need them.
Yeah, actually, there's a saying, old saying that said that banks give you the umbrella when it's shining, and when it's raining. Yeah. This is because of the components of the traditional way of making business in the banking. Because by time the banks today have hundreds of branches, thousands of people. A long payroll bill and a lot of expenses. They look to things. And by the way, after 2008, banking industry has become different. Now, before 2008, the weight between the business side and the backup side, let's say the backup side is the audit and the risk and the compliance. The business side was like 70-30. Today,
we'll come to that, Mohammed.
Sure.
So I can ask another. That will be a part of another question. Maaz, Elon Musk was asked a question. People says you are lucky. He laughed, cracked, and told them the story of the broken, as if he was like eating glass and passing it out to others. People might have the same perception about you, that you hit a luck, you hit the jackpot, you're lucky. How true that is, and what may actually get people to perceive you that way? Is that because that's how you want them to be perceived, or that's something that they are missing and they are overlooking about the real story of Maaz?
Sure. So on Elon Musk, I think leaving aside his personality, I think what Elon Musk has achieved is very unique and different from all the other high-tech investors and founders, even Bill Gates or Steve Jobs. Because what Elon Musk did, he's built three extremely valuable companies in three completely different industries. His first multi-billion-dollar company was PayPal in what is now called fintech. His second company was Tesla in an automotive space, and his third company is in the space industry. So, I don't think Elon Musk should be called lucky. So that's my opinion. I think Elon Musk is an extremely gifted, unique individual that, if you look at other entrepreneurs, whether it's Bill Gates or Steve Jobs or Mark Zuckerberg, they've built one great company, but he's done three in completely different industries. As far as I'm concerned, I think there's an element of luck in everyone's journey, and certainly is the case in my case as well. For those of us who are more spiritual, you can say it's an element of prayers and whatnot. But yeah, there's definitely an element of luck, and I would say in my case, 90% of it was luck. Timing has a lot to do with it. But I would say the last 10% is has to do with, in my case, had to do with just being patient and not giving up. I'm not the most hardworking person, and I'm not the most talented either. But in that last 10%, 90% is luck. In the last 10%, I would say one thing I didn't do is give up. Being patient, being persistent, being able to change, adapt, being flexible, and just not giving up is one thing I credit myself for. But yes, 90% of it, I think, is still luck.
Similar to Kareem's being what that was acquired by Uber. Are you hoping one day Netflix would come and take over?
Netflix doesn't have the history like Uber of doing acquisitions, so I think that's very unlikely. But we hope to create shareholder value by taking this company public, inshallah, one day. If luck will allow, we like to take this company public one day.
Inshallah.
Inshallah.
Now, I want to push the clock fast in here. The question that I would like to ask you, and then I will go to Mr. Ghariuti. What is the toughest challenge that, I'm sorry, do you see yourself that you have become a leader in the industry, in the region, or achieved that big dream? And how do you see yourself being different as a leader and as an industry that you are building in the region?
Sure. So on the leader part, I honestly, Dr. Abid, that's not for me to decide or claim. As far as one thing we did do is we created a new category or a new industry when we started 6 years ago. So when we were first getting started, when we were talking to potential investors and partners here, we were always told that, look, Maaz, the region is not ready. The infrastructure is not there. The funding is not there. And the consumer behavior is not there. These were the objections we were given all the time, that people are still watching television, on satellite. The behavior hasn't changed. But the reality was, even in 2006, 2007, YouTube started to become extremely popular in Saudi. There were years in 2012 and 13 where Saudi was YouTube's #1 market globally, not per capita, but in terms of gross uploads of videos. This is how popular YouTube was. So if YouTube was so successful in Saudi, that meant two things. One, the infrastructure is there, and two, that the consumer behavior is there as well. So what it meant for people like me in the industry or entrepreneurs was that we as an industry are refusing to accept that the world is changing, that the consumer behavior is changing around us. But we had the industry had its, mind blocked to the fact that the change is coming. And so the difficult part for us was to convince investors that this change is happening and it's gonna happen quickly. And I think that's one area that we did create a new industry. We did create a new category, if you will. And it always takes an outsider to make that change, because the existing player, incumbents, the current players in the market will not bring that change, because they are protecting their current revenue streams, they're protecting their current models, and they don't have the ability to make the shift. It always takes an outsider. It took Tesla to disrupt Ford Motor and General Motors and Toyotas, right? It took PayPal to completely disrupt the banking industry. So it always takes someone outside to challenge that industry, the established status quo in that industry. And that's one thing we did give ourselves credit. We do give ourselves credit for is disrupting that. And then later on, the established players try to catch up with you. But today, as a company, different research reports, but most research reports have us as the #1 player in the market.
The same question for you, Mr. Qariuti. Do you see yourself basically that you became a leader or achieved your big dream as a financier or a banker, and if so, how do you see yourself being different to the industry as a whole and to startups that are looking for innovative solutions in current times challenges?
Yeah, thank you. Actually, when I go to when I go by my car or go walking, I look to the left, I look to the right, I see my touches everywhere during my life career in the banking industry. And this is the success. Did you perform? I'm a doer. This is the way that I made things happen. Of course, you need to have with you the all stakeholders that make you stronger, and you need to build the big people that the big leaders actually around you to make you stronger. You bring the strong people, you strong with them. You bring the weak people, you will never grow. This is one from the things on the banking sector. Yes, I did a success story in my life, in all my steps in my life, because I can see always the performance and the results, and always we calculated very simple how we calculate our efforts and results, and we see the results. Now, what's different is never give up, and I say it also in his challenges in his life and his project. Never give up. If you face a problem, move on, face it, sit on it, and after that, move on. Look to the opportunity that can take you out of this problem, and create a model of making things more realistic and to be happen in a different way, and taking on consideration all the challenges around.
Interesting. Now, that brings us to the next topic, basically, to be the game changer. As a financier, how would you like to change the tough landscape for startups? What is it that you think should be done to transform the industry from the very conservative to the very aggressive, to be aligned with a lot of countries around the world that are very flourishing and prosperous, like Singapore, for example, is another model. And do you see yourself, or would you like to see yourself being the driving force, and how?
Yeah, actually, it started with by the way, for the startups, part of the effort, it started with the regulation. Regulation means that there is some support from the national effort. National effort, maybe regulation, maybe procedures, maybe access, and it started from there. You need, as a startups, you need the support. Support comes from different angle. One of them as a challenge is the regulator. The regulation can support you big time to expand, can describe you where you sit. If you I mentioned in the first discussion that the most important to segment where you are and what kind of business you have. For that segment, it's need regulation behind to understand that segment. That, let's give you example. Today, if I look to the SMEs or the small businesses, and always they are facing challenges. Why? Because it's about the collateral. It's about the collateral. These small businesses are facing this issue. They have a good business model. They have opportunity. They can grow, but the problem that they don't have a collateral. They have a minimal equity, but they can grow. Now, if there is a regulation can support one from the regulation that regarding the credit default insurance, let's say, one from the things, is it in place? If it's not, it's need to be in place, because this is one from the arms that can support. Add to that how much I'm going to expand. Do I need to expand actually? If I have a startups or I have a small project, what is the size I can grow with? If I think that I have that project and I will be like Bill Gates in 2 years and it will never happen, this is a problem. I need to address myself and put myself in the right place to make sure that I'm using the best of it. And this is one from the challenges that facing the small businesses. Other things, the combination between businesses. Today, I have an idea. I have a small project, and there is the same small project, but in that can talk with my project. So we can do some combination. We can expand. 2 better than 1. Maybe another one, 3 better than 2. So we can combine and become stronger. And once we become stronger, we can grow. And you can describe what kind of market that you're going to hit. It's locally, it's national, Levant, international, depends. And
So
always,
you're talking about the collaboration.
yes.
With
And
that
always,
in mind,
sorry,
yeah,
please.
yeah. With that in mind, the collaboration. Maaz, you have been a startup stage and went through the hardship of going through it. How do you like to collaborate, for example, on a model with Mr. Qariyuti to create a new flexible mindset in order for to make things easier for the startups want to be in the future, that you have that influence, that you have that PR. Go ahead. The floor is yours.
Sure. So, the initial distribution partnerships are extremely important to scaling your business. It can make the difference between a failed company or a successful one. We would not have survived the first 3 years of our business had it not been for our partnerships with companies like Etisalat in UAE and Saudi Telecom in Saudi, because these partners helped us scale the business. Now, how do you achieve that? In our case, we were fortunate that our product or service was not available to them. So we were selling them a new product or a new service at that time, and we were able to create an offer for them that they actually needed. Beyond that, I think one thing founders have to do, or entrepreneurs have to do, is take it upon themselves personally to make the sales pitch. If the founders and the entrepreneurs themselves cannot sell the product, cannot sell the vision behind it, then your team, the sales team or sales folks won't be able to do it. So the CEO, the founder, and the team, the founding team has to be the #1 salesperson of that company. And so it takes everything from waiting in the lobbies for hours, 2 hours, 3 hours, whatever it takes, sometimes even cold calling to get through to people. And again, these are times when humility is extremely important, because they're not the ones that need you. You need them more than they need you. So you have to be humble about it, but it's a difficult journey, but it proves in the long run it's extremely valuable.
Keep that thought. They need you, you need them, for the next subject.
Okay.
Now let's focus about the future is not what did happen, but what should happen next. Okay.
Right.
So when we are looking at is how can you be a part of the future of the newly to be startups, creating the opportunities for them. For example, you can, as a becoming successful company and a growing company, would that be an ideal opportunity? And it says here is another new micro opportunity that could actually flourish under my macro.
Mm-hmm.
For my business to grow, with new marketed channels, for example, resellers, wholesalers, franchisers that could become outsource of service providers to your companies, whether directly or indirectly, that impacts your business, is to create that journey. Is that something you would think it's viable? Because what we're trying to do here is not to stop where you succeeded, but how you can actually start transferring that success to others and helping them rise. And by the way, in the United States, we have a say, help others to grow for you to grow.
Yeah.
In that model of a business, could that work for your industry or your business?
Yes, of course. See, a business like ours, when you start from zero, you yourself, as a core product and a core offering, you continuously need to evolve and improve your own service, and adapt your service. But at the same time, you will be relying on other partners that so the partners don't always have to be big players like Etisalat or other telecom players. You could have smaller partners. We have several other smaller partners that have helped us grow and scale the business. At the same time, they were scaling and growing. So, for example, today we are creating original Arabic content, and we work with lots of small partners, everyone from production crew to script writers to on-screen talent. So relying on other smaller partners is an extremely key part of our growth, and there are several other partners that are growing with us.
Excellent. Mohammed Khariyuti, you are as a banker. Maaz comes to you and says, Mr. Nice Banker, I'm a successful business and I have got a lot of students with a lot of promising ideas that we are willing to partner with them. What would make you willing to finance those as an extension of Maaz's start place success?
Yeah, it's all about actually, if, as mentioned, you need first to convince me that you have a business model that can sustain first. Second, I need to make sure that you are building your projection depending on a sustained cash flow that can settle your debt. Add to that, you need to have the vision of growth, because you cannot stay. Any business that need to be success need to be always growing, not on the volume of multiple or triples. No, it's keep growing, even if it's like 1% per year, every 2 years. But it need to have a plan of always growing, depending on what kind of support and tools and strength that you have. Of course,
basically, Mr. Muhammad, what I'm trying to say here, so basically, for somebody or a student that is ambitious, that and as having a difficult time to figure out where to get funding, it's better for alternative for that student to start up a company is to go to Mr. Maaz and say, Maaz, you're a nice guy. I'm a very nice, hardworking person, and I have this idea. Can you take my hand, and I will be providing you service that you will be subscribing to for Mr. Khariyuti to provide me funding. So what you're saying, that could viably be a success story for you to fund or provide funding for that person.
Exactly. You need to look first
successful partner.
Yes, to make you stronger.
Exactly.
Maybe I'm having the idea, I have the strength, I have negotiation, I can convince you, but I need the strength with me. I need my wings to take me to the next level. So they need to find the right partner, supporter that can take them to a step that they can exercise the thoughts that they have to be a fact translated in business.
Which basically create a forest. Let's think of a forest model. Okay. Now we know every startup could potentially succeed if they're actually linked somehow, bridged somehow with the success stories that if they can complement what this successful business is doing, they will stand a greater chance to get that funding, right?
Yes.
So that requires PR on both sides, the banker or the financier and the startups. What would you think will be the ideal opportunity for you as a banker to create that awareness training, for example, explorations, going to schools, encouraging students to dig deep into finding not just what you can do, but what you can do for other businesses to pick you up as a partner?
Yeah.
Has that, is that traditionally being done in the industry, in the banking industries, in the venture capital industry?
Yeah, actually, it's started, Doctor, because now all the banks, most of the banks, they are shifting to create products. You talk about,
Okay.
let's say, you talk about product.
Right.
The best way for me to create the product and to sell this product, and there is a demand for this product, one of them the students. So one from the major role that banks or financiers need to do it, to start looking around, understanding what's happening, and create products, because the product will bring people, will bring investor, will bring ideas. You cannot go mass. You cannot say that I can do what? You need to create the proper product. You need to sell it. I need to sell back my ideas to you, and we these together to have a succession roadmap to fly with what we have as an opportunity of translating this idea to be in fact. Once they create the products, the market will be there, because when you create a product, before that you do market study, you do the homework needed, you do all the due diligence that need to have that product in place, and you can sell it and sell it back to others.
Mr. Maaz, now we are getting somewhere. Okay, the beautiful place to convince Mr. Muhammad Al-Qaryuti to bring us those hundreds of millions of dollars to invest in Stars Place, and the extending hand of Stars Place. Now, let's think together here. For example, now we have three beautiful minds, great-looking men, talking to each other, basically, to make lots of money. If we take that, if we think collaboratively here, collectively, about the future of opportunities of a Stars Place, how do we actually create new marketing channels to dig in deep into those markets, going perhaps to school, to high school students, college students that could potentially actually help us explore what is out there, and giving them the opportunities to become startups for us. So it becomes like a social impact, creating social impact that potentially has a great impact on that business to grow. Is that something that you are ready to explore with college students, to say, here guys, let's explore what services, what products you can create for us directly or indirectly to help us to bring us into every home in the Arab world region?
Yeah, absolutely. Dr. Abid, the thing, Mr. Muhammad was highlighting a couple of things here. One is a very important distinction that, the source of funding when companies are first getting started is usually not loans, because banks will not lend you money, like Mr. Muhammad was saying, without assets. Banks usually lend you money when you're a profitable company. When you're first getting started, the capital either comes from your personal capital, friends and family, or angel investors. So it's usually equity investments. So that's the first thing. The second part about your idea to connect young talent from colleges and universities to established startups like ours is an excellent one for several reasons. One, the innovation in this region, in the region that we live in today, is going to come from youth, because this is a region where the population is extremely young compared to Europe and US, where and even in Asia, Japan, Korea, they have an aging population, and we are blessed with population growth. We're blessed with a younger population here. And so the technology change and the adoption here happens much faster, can happen much faster. Now, older people like myself cannot create new ideas. New ideas come from change in consumer behavior, and consumer behavior is happening with young people. So you need those young people to come up with the next big idea. It's not going to come from people in that are older. So I think connecting those ideas, connecting that talent, but providing them with an environment to develop their ideas, develop their concepts is the key. And companies like ourselves should definitely play a role in providing that environment. I mean, we can play a role by providing the technology experience, by providing a technology environment. We can even play a role by letting them, to some extent, if they have an idea that's complementary to what we do, we can even test it in our core product as well. But yes, it needs to happen.
Great. Now we are coming together. We are built where our minds getting together to where we are heading with this journey, the environment, the ecosystem that actually will help the Mr. Nice Banker with a big heart and a deep pocket, and success stories in the entertainment industries to come together actually and create a focused groups among high school students, college students, to come up with the direct and indirect opportunities. Let's explore quick examples of what could be the direct and indirect opportunities to get us into homes, to co-partners with us. For example, movies. When I think of movies, I think of popcorn. I think of sweets. I think of all the different goodies that these students could actually become the creators of those ideas, those initiatives, those entertainments that to bring us homes. The purpose of it, without going home, getting into those homes, we're going to be limited to the market exposure that we can have today. If we want to think about it today, if you haven't thought about it, what is the first thing that comes up to your mind? Direct, basically, which means could impact the product development and delivery of your services. Indirect, to actually creating CSR opportunities, creating market opportunities that gets you home, co-brand with other businesses that could actually be complementing to what you do.
Sure.
What could come up to your mind?
Yeah, Dr. Abid, there's so many ideas. So, for example, today, yes, we carry a lot of Hollywood movies, TV and TV series, but we subtitle these movies and these TV series. We subtitle them in Arabic, and that's an area, for example, that can benefit from automation, right? So today we rely on our partners either in Egypt or in Jordan that do the subtitling for us for all our Hollywood content. But that's an area that could be automated. That could be done electronically rather than an actual human person doing it. You can have artificial intelligence doing that.
Nice.
So that's a very clear and obvious one. In fact, when we first got started, the technology was not there to carry Arabic subtitles online. It was there for broadcast So obviously everyone has seen NBC and OSN broadcast their signal with Arabic subtitles, but the technology was not there for us to stream content on video with Arabic subtitles. We were the first ones in the world to make streaming content with Arabic subtitles available.
Marvelous. Mr. Karyuti, here, Maaz and I are in agreement. Are you buying in?
Yes, actually, I'm buying in. Add to that, we need to combine with us. We need to have with us the stakeholders. If we talk about the students, we need to touch base how to get the founder of these students in place, like the universities, like the colleges, like the schools, to be part of this, because they're gonna grow by time with this. They're gonna do business with this, because you know the thorough is coming from them. The thorough is the students, and we are providing the product, and we are creating the opportunity, and we are expanding. So if these stakeholders is become part of what we are doing, then we can expand more and more, and we can succeed with what we have.
Great. Now, here are the good news, guys. Everybody, now we're announcing a new partnership being forged between Maaz, Osman Sultan, Karyuti, and myself. If that exists. Go ahead, I'm sorry. But here is what we had. The reason why we are leading with this conversation, basically, is this. I don't know what happened. We created the program Talents of Endearment, which is Mr. Osman Sultan is a part of, and he's the chairman of the board of trustees of that organization. Talents of Endearment is about actually helping students to put together exactly what we concluded in the last 2 slides. How we can bring students to explore, discover, and identify relevant opportunities either to their career, what they're studying, or to the businesses that are interested, like Maaz company, Stars Place. And Maaz, whatever opportunities we're going to be working with you, we're going to be your partners in those opportunities. Fair game?
Fair game. Agree.
So what we do basically, work with the students to explore people's aspirations, what people really want, not basically what I think they want, and that develops their passion for those aspirations, and become the essence or the purpose for those students connected to the business. Now we are started channeling business purposes to identify those opportunities linked to that business. And that becomes the clear future path for the student to that business in the market. That connection creates opportunities, funding opportunities. It creates opportunities for a new supply chain. It creates opportunities for new marketed channels. It creates opportunities for education. It creates opportunities for intellectual properties, industries, and the likes. For example, I can start with the Stars Place here, creating opportunities for people that wants to sell gifts, or if to bring it to homes with the packages that Stars Place is selling, for example, whatever. And that becomes clearly defining the achievement, what those students are going to be able to achieve. And that achievement becomes relative to that business, Stars Place, that now the 4 of us are going to be expanding through students in the world, not just in this region. And imagine the ideas isn't just enclosed in the minds of that student or the parameters that they live in, but it's collaboratively developed by students' mind coming together from around the world. Today, you have a platform with over 900,000 students access. Imagine what kind of opportunities we can create for this new forged partnership to create an extension of Star's Place. Can you imagine? Hard to fathom. But that's collaboration, which actually defines who are the right people to be working with, who are the right people to be partnering with, who are the right investors to be targeting with the support of these 4 people on this panel to get this message out there. So what we've done basically is start focusing on direct and indirect, and to empower people to change the world. What we did is to help them transform from being normal to exceptional. We put over 24 years to create this environment, the ecosystem. When I think of the future, when I think of students, I think of my future. When I see people's aspiration, I see my opportunity, because people's aspirations is the opportunities. How for any business to tap into those opportunities at a much lesser cost became the essence of this program when we designed Talents of Endearment. And that's why Mr. Osman was excited to be a part of this, is how do we become a part of this journey to make it happen for my business to start expanding or extending as a brand recognized. And that relationship becomes, my computer start acting funny. And help them put everything together in context of their future, but not only in context of their future, the related businesses' future. Because now we have a meaningful career opportunity developed by students for my business that I didn't have a chance to do, and it would have been very expensive and time consuming if I wanted to do it in my own. And that's the relationship. What we wanted to do is leverage students young at the high school level, and we're going to the lesser age, to the older level, to the college students and fresh graduates, to become my researchers, products, new products developments. How do I really attain to those new market opportunities with those student buddies? Now they're coming in to become my warriors, my fighters, to build a scheme for it to grow. So we help students to learn to give, for them to grow. But now that's a relationship also of your business. You learn how to collaborate with the students, giving them the opportunity to become a part of your business future, for all of you to grow, for all of us to grow and prosper. Now we're creating a parcel of an abundance of human opportunities for Mr. Kariuti and his good buddies of bankers to finance. How that viability would work for you by creating that balance between their purpose, my business purpose, connected to those students. Now they become a part of my organizations without me hiring them, to meet market expectations, to grow. That's the relationship that we look to achieve. Now, Mr. Maaz, I want to ask you that question. How could your business see an opportunity of this to expand?
Sure. So for us, Dr. Abid, expansion is one area for us to grow. The other opportunity for us is to reduce our costs, right? So going back to that idea of using AI for subtitling in Arabic, so the idea there would be that this is a significant part of our cost today, so it reduces our cost. So growth is one area, but also for us, it's how do we make our business more efficient? So investors like Mr. Muhammad are interested in investing us, because ultimately businesses have to be profitable. So for us, it's both. It's expanding, it's growing, but also reducing our cost. So it could be both for us.
Excellent. Mr. Maaz, I understand that you have to leave. Would you like to give your closing remark, and I will transfer the Mic for you.
Thank you, Dr. Abid. I just wanted to thank everyone. It's very fortunate that you gave me an opportunity to speak to so many people and share my experiences with you. I'm happy to be part of this platform, happy to continue to be involved. If people need to reach me directly, LinkedIn is perhaps the best format or social media to find me on. And stay connected with you, with each of you, inshallah, in the future.
And we will give you his email address and contact numbers for the highest bidder.
Not a problem. Not a problem. Thank you so much for giving me the opportunity. Thank you, Dr. Abid. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Maaz. We appreciate the opportunity there. And Mr. Karyuti.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
How would that, do you foresee that opportunity happening to enhance the ability of startups to get the financing or the funding that they would need through this ecosystem or through this environment?
Yeah, actually, it's always there is always a way of getting the support needed if you build it in the proper way that you can, first of all, sell it to yourself. Second, to build a future for it. And the most important, the sustainability of that business. Now, what you mentioned is very important, actually, because, you have a base, you have the experts, and you have the demand, and you have the environment. So if you combine these together, now we have a case to talk about. The big support from the students is very important, because students are there and they will stay there forever and they will grow, and it's an international opportunity for every one of them and the comers. So this business is going to be a continuous opportunity, and it keep growing because the students keep coming. So when you structure it in a way that it's going to be sellable and you have these stakeholders, it's going to be, of course, a good opportunity to have the support from different angles. One of them is the banks.
Thank you. And I would like to come back to the slides here. What we have right now coming up, that ecosystem and building that ecosystem is actually coming up in January. What we are starting, and on the 21st through the 22nd, and this is the link that you can access the event and the information on the event. You will also find it in your handouts tab on your left-hand side with all the additional information that's coming up. And it's for high school students, college students, fresh graduates, and educators, talking about how to really build that ecosystem and the environment and connect to the right stakeholders, including the funding institutions, and how to promote it to them, and branding yourself. And the reason why they would need it, because we help transfer students from normal to exceptional to build the future of their dreams in 33 days with a lifetime career support. And you will never be on your own, alone again, in that career development. It's a one lifetime subscription that students will acquire, because it's actually being sponsored by Identity Branding Forum and the members of the Board of Trustees to make this happen. 33 days lifetime community support, 5 years platform support, and a certificate of achievement award granted by the certification board body of the program. That includes universities presidents, college presidents. You will find it in our program. And the fees right now, we are running it also is sponsored, $90 per person with the loyalty code. And the normal cost of the program is $150. 50% is sponsored of the original $300. Also, we welcome you on a town hall meeting on Tuesday, the 29th, from 5 o'clock, to ask all the questions relevant to your careers. We're gonna be, beside myself, 3 other presidents of colleges during that meeting, please make sure that you will be there. It's complimentary free to have a full orientation on how the program will actually work, and ask all the questions that that comes up to your mind relevant to your career and the future. This is the link to register for it, to join us, inshallah. And you will also find that link on your hand side. Any questions that you have? I can see a number of questions have been up there, and because of time there's a limitation. Muhammad, do you want to take one or two of them quickly, or just we'll answer them through emails?
As you wish. Actually, I'd like to say something. For the questions, we can answer them to save time, but I'd like to mention that today we have opportunity, big opportunity for everybody. Sorry.
That's okay.
It's okay. Again, I'd like to say something. Today we have a big opportunity for everyone is attending this session, or for every student, everyone interested. It's an opportunity to be part of the future. It's an opportunity to share what you have, to be part of a success that will take you extra miles, to exercise your thinking, to translate to facts. This is the right and proper platform for such opportunity. I hope all of the students and the people that they are getting with us to look to this matter as an investment for their future in a way or another.
Thank you, Muhammad. I really appreciate that, and it is an opportunity of a unique time opportunities, because we are the largest career development platform in the world with over 900,000 students on board. And with that, I would like, if possible, to start the if you can. I'm going to have a quiz questions for you to share with us your feedback. Please rate this session so we know exactly how we are doing, hopefully in the future to help much better. Please all help us to answer those questions, your feedback on it, so we know how we do better next time. Great, we are. Okay, so this is the result. 61% 5 stars, 39% 4 stars, 4.6. I think not bad. Is that anybody wants to provide us their feedback? Last chance, last call. Thank you. Let's go to the next one. Rate the subject of this session, please. Okay, please help us all. So we are focused on how to improve. And we can only do that when you tell us what you think. Okay. That's it. Any more takers? The next one. Rate the value of the information you gained. How much benefit did you get? Okay. Anybody else? Please. Thank you. And the embarrassing question. Rate us. Tell us how we did. If you like Maaz, rate Maaz. If you like Osman, rate Maaz. If you like Muhammad al-Qariyuti, rate him. Okay. Okay. Lucky that the ranking is discrete, so nobody will know who said what. Thank you. Anybody else wants to rate us? Now, this is a question. What type of webinars we can offer you in the future? Please share. Okay, how to pitch a startup idea. Anybody else wants to write this what they're needed? Listening to ideas or products that people have worked. Webinars regarding career. More about marketing. How to collaborate with established practitioners in order to grow. Startup methodologies and requirements. Great. The last question. Are you a startup or want to be a startup? Anybody who wants to respond, or that's it? With this, we conclude, and we really thank you. I personally had a thrill of a time trying to convince Muhammad al-Qariyuti and Maaz Sheikh, Mr. Osman, to come to partner with us into this program, and I think we did a fabulous job. All of them did a fabulous job, exceptional job, trying to present a story that actually delivered a reality, what should happen next, because that's the future, and that's where is your future. You guys have been marvelous attendance. Sorry that we took a little longer than we're supposed to, but this is what happens when you lose a track of time and you're enjoying it phenomenally. Thank you, Mr. Muhammad. Unless you have a final comment, the audience.
Thank you so much, Dr. Abed, and a big thank for everybody who participate in this, and a big thank also who gonna transfer this this exercise to others let's have a story to tell to all of our colleagues or our lovers. We came from experience. We'd like to spread our experience to you all. Thank you, Dr. Abed, and again, big honor to be in this session.
It's an honor to have you, and it's an honor to have Osman Sultan and Maaz Sheikh, but we couldn't do it without our attendees. We couldn't do it about the interest of our attendees that actually gave us the momentum, the enthusiasm to be as fun, as entertaining, hopefully to them, and as educating as well. Thank you. But I want to leave you with one remark. Don't listen to all the noise that's out there, because that's going to continue. You're going to hear a lot of people giving you an advice, and 99% of it is not relevant to you. If you hear somebody suffering bad times, don't think it affects you, because their circumstances, their conditions is different than yours. The only noise you should listen to is the one you make. for others to follow. And for that noise to be relevant, you need to think deep. What purpose you serve in your life, what you want your future to be like, and whatever mindset you will have now will set the tone for the rest of your life. Make the best of it. Stay safe, stay positive, stay productive, and hopefully we'll see you all on the 29th of December and pass the word around. Thank you. God bless.
Thank you.
Inshallah. Assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum salam.